This is the Cancer Boss Method podcast, the place to be when cancer sucks and you don't want it to. I'm Leslie Nance, survivor, cancer coach, and healing mentor. Come learn the truth about what your role is in your own healing. No BS, just real strategies from a cancer coach who has been there, done that. And I'm talking about healing. So if you really want to get me wound up, then let's talk about the normalization of side effects during chemo. Oh, it makes me nuts. Like, why do we normalize side effects? Why in the world do we do this? So here's a short list that you might have seen or gotten from your doctor if you are in chemotherapy. And it's just like, oh, we'll expect these things to happen. And so then we expect them to happen. Fatigue, hair loss, infection, anemia, nausea, vomiting, appetite changes, constipation, diarrhea, mouth, tongue, and throat problems, peripheral neuropathy, chemo brain. I mean, it is like a freaking plague is going to strike your body at any second. And what happens is that it scares the crap out of you. I mean, am I right? In this episode of the Cancer Boss Method, I wanted to share this with you, like the top 3 side effects that you can control. Actually, you can control all of these, but that you can control and how to do it. So before we get into that, I think it's really important that we understand like why chemo causes this fallout in our healthy cells and why side effects happen at all, because this is a huge fear factor for people. I mean, when I'm talking to women about their cancer diagnosis, one of the things that scare them the most about chemotherapy is long-term and short-term side effects. And so what happens is that chemo is not targeted to just cancer cells. And you know, we have targeted drugs like Herceptin and Perjeta, which are targeted drugs for HER2 positive breast cancer, and they can target cancer cells and rogue cells. But chemo, while it can be highly effective at killing off weak, deformed cancer cells, it can't target just those cells. And so cancer cells are trying to repair themselves but they're malfunctioning. And so they're replicating very, very fast. And they're not dying off, which makes this is one of the things that makes it so dangerous. And so chemotherapy goes throughout our entire body and it attacks those fast growing cells. It's one of the things that it's looking for. Well, guess what else is fast growing cells? Because those cells, fast growing cells, are found in your bone marrow. They're found in your hair follicles. They're found in your mouth, in your digestive system. And these fast-growing cells, these healthy fast-growing cells, can also take a punch just like the cancer cells do. And this is why we end up with some of those side effects that I listed earlier. So let's just be really clear right now. Not everyone is going to get every side effect. So praise the Lord, whatever. Not everyone is going to get every side effect, but even getting 1 or 2 or 5 or 11 of these can feel really, really hard, and it can make things depressing, and it can make it feel like that cancer is running the show. And so it's in our best interest to control as many as we can of these. And there are things that we can do that we can stop them from even happening. We can neutralize them if they are already happening, and we can create well-being and get better even while we are in cancer treatment. So I think it's worth noting here too that chemo can also cause like long-term side effects that can affect the heart, the kidney, the bladder, the lungs, the nervous system. And it is always to our advantage to create a healthy terrain throughout our body so we don't have those long-term side effects. And I don't have time to cover that in depth today in this particular podcast, but the Chemo Boss Holistic Protocol, which is a very popular program that I have, and the 10-week healing system called the Cancer Boss Method, which is also the name of this podcast, but also the name of my program, does cover those subjects in detail, just an FYI. So now before you hit the pause button, because of fear or anxiety that I might or might not have created. In this, you might have already had it, so maybe I didn't create it. It was already there. But let me just say what I came to say here, and that is this. You do not have to suffer through chemotherapy. You can prevent or neutralize this damage both long and short term. So what I'd like to do here on this podcast today is I'd like to give you some tips for the top 3 chemo side effects that people experience and give you some ideas about how to control them. So some of this is physical, some of this is mental, and some of this you just need to be the boss. So let me just uncover some mysteries right here. And the first thing I want to talk about is fatigue. So fatigue is one of the most common, especially nowadays, it's one of the most common side effects that people experience during chemotherapy treatments. And so normally this fatigue comes 2 to 3 days post-treatment. And you might feel tired, like even after you've rested. You might feel like you can't function or do normal tasks, and you might feel lethargic and sluggish all day. Every day for a few days post your treatment. And why I say that it comes normally 2 to 3 days post treatment is because during cancer treatments, especially infusions, not so much if you're taking like an oral chemotherapy, but if you're getting infusions, intravenous, like through your port or through an IV or whatever, if you're getting those types of treatments, they give you steroids and those steroids, you get a steroid high for 24 to 48, for some people, depending on your metabolism, for 72 hours. And so you feel pretty good for several days. You think, hey, this isn't so bad. And then bam, the fatigue. You wake up one morning and you feel like you've been run over by a truck. And so you just don't want to do anything. You feel lethargic, you feel sluggish, you feel like you can't just do normal tasks. You might feel tired even after you've rested for a long period of time. And so some people feel this way the whole treatment cycle, which you might imagine is pretty darn miserable. And so there are ways that you can make this better. And so I just want to point some of these out. And I want you to think about this as like integrative oncology, holistic practices, and these are not interfering with your cancer treatments. They are making things better, okay? It's not like a detox or, taking a handful of supplements that can actually make things worse and make you feel worse, make you even feel more fatigued. But these are going to be in complement and they're going to help you get through some of this fatigue that you may be feeling. So the first thing that you want to check in with is that you're probably not eating enough. And maybe you're not eating enough of the right foods. And so you want to make sure that you are adding clean, healthy proteins on a daily basis, that you are getting plenty of complex carbohydrates, and that you are staying hydrated. And dehydration is actually the number one cause of fatigue during chemo treatments. I know, right? And so this is something that you can easily remedy. And you might be going, oh, Leslie, but water tastes terrible and I don't like, okay, well, there's flavors that you can put in water. There are electrolytes that you can add to water that have flavors. You can add berries or lemon or something to create the need or the want for hydration, because you may not feel thirsty, but your body needs hydration. Now, don't overdo it. Too much hydration floods the kidneys and makes you feel worse, makes you feel even more fatigued. So just making sure that you are staying hydrated. So the other thing that you want to check in with is that you might be overdoing it. And what happens is we want to prove to ourselves that this chemo is not going to get me down and I'm going to be fine and I can get through this. And, we kind of toughen up a bit and we think that we need to get bossy instead of be a cancer boss, and we don't have a lot of grace for ourselves. And so what happens is we end up overdoing it. And can I just say right now that overdoing it is not being tough, right? It keeps you from healing properly, and it really puts cancer in the driver's seat, because your body will slow you down if it needs to slow down, whether you like it or not. And that's going to make you feel even worse. So just rest when you need it, with absolutely no judgment, with no buying into, oh, this is the cancer or this is that or whatever. I just need to rest, and because I'm doing these cancer treatments and that's what it is. And so Just one last thing that you might check in with yourself on the fatigue side. And this is something a little bit more technical that you're going to need to talk to your medical team about. And that is, you might have some low blood counts. So white blood cells or red blood cells, those low counts can actually, or neutrophils can make you feel kind of icky if they're super low. And so you want to make sure that those are in check, and those can be some clues to your fatigue. And if that's the case, then you need to work with someone like me to help you through that, or you need to speak to your medical team. But the bottom line is that you can control fatigue with a few simple tweaks. And, you know, I talk a lot more about this, of course, if you are working with me as a client, and we can talk about your specifics, but these at least will give you a jumping off point to start thinking a little differently about not normalizing this particular side effect. The second thing I want to talk about, and this is the one that everyone is scared of, everyone worries about, everyone believes that this is going to happen to them, and that's that you're going to have your head in the toilet, you know, throughout your entire treatment cycle. And that's, of course, nausea and vomiting. Everyone is scared of this, that this is going to happen to them. And in reality, this is way less common nowadays because of the pre-meds that they give you in your infusions and the prescribed drugs that they give you post-treatments. And let me just tell you, if they've given you nausea medication, then it is a common side effect of your cancer treatments. And I recommend, until you know how your body reacts, that you take those so that you don't even start with, don't even start with me. Nausea, okay? Just take them. You might feel a little tired because of them, but you rather feel a little tired than feel like you're going to throw up every second of every day, okay? So I'm sorry if you're not feeling well and you're listening to this and you're like, don't say vomiting again. And I just did. I apologize. But there's some things that you can do besides those drugs that, you know, that can help you. And so just to identify it, sometimes you might have a hard time eating. You might feel like food tastes off somehow, or that it's not pleasurable. You might feel full. You could feel dizzy or nauseous if you you feel like you've stood up too fast and you feel a little nauseous or dizzy at that point there. So there is a solution with this. And if you feel like that it is interrupting or disruptive to your quality of life, then you need to speak to your medical team. You need to speak to your care team, speak to your oncologist, tell them that this is disruptive to your quality of life and you need a solution, and lay down on it until they give you a solution for this. Okay? Just saying, because it can be controlled medically. But until that happens, you just want to make sure a couple of things. And you're going to hear a common theme here, which is hydration. You want to make sure that you're hydrated. If you're vomiting, you want to make sure that you're hydrating with some electrolytes. There's tons of electrolyte powders out there now. So with some electrolytes, by the way, coconut water is particularly the C2O brand, I love. But coconut water is a great way to rehydrate the body. If you like it, you enjoy it. If you don't, try the C2O brand. So I'm not supported by them in any way whatsoever. It's just, I'm going to share with you what I know works, which brings me to my next thought, is that you need to make sure that you're eating small meals several times a day. If you're not eating, sometimes you feel nausea, believe it or not. And so just eating something can help, especially if you have nausea with like nervousness, like you feel a little nervous, then you want to make sure that you eat something. If you're having trouble with holding things down, then you need to talk to your doctor, and meaning like vomiting. I was trying to be nice and it didn't really work. So, but to making sure that you are addressing that. If you are vomiting, then just make sure you stick with simple foods that are easy on the gut and try to hold down as much as you can and hydrate as much as you can. If you have nausea, there is a simple fix that you can try that really helps, at least temporarily, if not long term for some people, which is chewing like a ginger candy of some kind. So they're going to be sweet and chewy, and most people, they're very attractive for most people when they feel nauseous because the body reacts to ginger very well. It helps quell that feeling, if you will, kind of that ick feeling that we have, and it stimulates the digestive system. And once again, I'm not affiliated with this company at all, but I will share things with you that I know work. And I love Gingins, Gingin, and they're made by the Ginger People. If you want to look those up on Amazon, I can put a link below the podcast as well to that and to C2O. But it helps stimulate the digestive system, and it can quell like that real ick feeling that we get with nausea. So just chewing on those, and sometimes for prevention, they do have some sugar in them, so you don't want to like be chewing on them all day long. If that's the case, you might try a ginger supplement or some ginger tea and herbal tea. That will help as well. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is one that I hear common, and I hear people playing the cancer card all the time. And I just want to say what I'm about to say, I know it's real and I'm acknowledging that, but it is so easy to control, and that is brain fog or chemo brain. Of all the side effects that we can keep from happening, chemo brain is at the top of the list. And so when you have it, you might feel forgetful. You also might get annoyed really easily with yourself and with others. You might have a hard time getting your brain to focus on a task. You might even feel tempted to isolate yourself or shut down just to kind of uncomplicate your life. And you want to resist all of these things, by the way. But chemo brain is real. I acknowledge it. But it is something, there's a lot that you can do about this, and it's really easy. And the first thing I'm going to say is a theme here in this podcast, which is hydration. Making sure that you're staying hydrated, because if you're not, your brain, if your body doesn't have enough fluid and you're dehydrated, your body will start to shut down your brain. It'll be one of the first things that is like, we can put that on minimal, kind of put it on like pause or slow motion. So it's not using up so much energy. And so your brain will be affected if you're dehydrated. So make sure that you're staying hydrated. And here's the second thing, and this is super easy throughout your treatments, especially on treatment day and the day after and the day after that, but every day, take a 20-minute walk. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need to do it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 20 minutes. If it's a slow shuffle, just get out and move your body for 20 minutes. You can also translate this to like yoga or chair yoga if for some reason that you feel like you can't walk or it's not safe for you to walk somehow, or the weather or whatever excuse we want to throw out there. But 20-minute walk every day will stimulate the circulatory system. It will help detox the chemotoxins out naturally, because you do not want to be detoxing while you are in chemo treatments, but it'll help detox them out naturally and move them through the body, and they won't get stuck up because the circulatory system is effectively moving them out, including your circulatory system of your heart and blood, but then also in your lymphatic system as well. So a walk, just so you know, a walk also helps with fatigue and immune function, and these are just two of the most simple things that you do, and you will reduce the odds or neutralize the risk of chemo brain every single time. It is just an easy choice. So these are 3 side effects that you can control with simple choices and changes. And let me tell you, they are easy to do, but they're also easy not to do. So check in with yourself and your level of commitment to, getting through this in a very healthy mindset. So, I'm sure at this point you have heard of my program, the Chemo Boss Holistic Protocol. I mean, it is incredibly popular. And in that, I actually cover 11 common side effects from chemotherapy. And these 3 that I just shared with you today, but I go into detail about how to prevent them, how to neutralize them, or how to triage them if they're actually happening. So I give you detailed, integrative, holistic techniques that will change your healing trajectory for good. And so in that program, I'm also covering very important topics like holistic oncology nutrition, which is my specialty as a certified holistic cancer coach and a certified holistic nutritionist as well. the mindset for getting through chemo in a healthy, effective way, group support that you get from other people in the program so that you get to engage with others that are also on the same journey that you're on and are working through healing even while they're in chemo. Also, what detoxes and supplements you should and should not be doing. And there was like a spoiler alert before this, and how to make chemo even more effective. And there's so much more that we share in that program. So this is a 4-week program. I only run it a few times a year. I will tell you, just like I said before, this will change your trajectory of healing in a very favorable way forever. Okay. So, at the time of this recording, we are going to be opening up some early bird pricing very soon. And that early bird pricing is actually $100 off, but I'm only going to offer that $100 off for the first 20 enrollments. And that $100 off is only going to be available through email. So guess what? I'm going to leave a link below, and you can just go to that link and leave me your name and your email. I promise, I totally pinky swear, we do not share it out. We do not spam you. We send out very cool, valuable information that will help you no matter whether you join us in the Chemo Boss Holistic Protocol or the 10-week Cancer Boss Method, but it will put you on a wait list for early bird pricing. And so you'll be able to check it out, see if it's a good thing for you. If it is, you'll get $100 off if you are one of the first 20 to enroll. So classes, we'll share the dates in that as well. So you'll get all the information on that. You'll get early bird information as well. And we'll just be sending you some amazing information, tips and tricks for healing throughout this, within that email as well. So if you have any questions, I am certainly here to help you make an awesome decision for your healing always. If you're not in chemo and you still want to find a path to healing, then please make sure that you book a call with me so that I can tailor a program just for you and share all the amazing opportunities of healing that I have available right now. And then if you know anyone who you think might benefit from this, please make sure you forward them the link to this podcast, because it is always my goal to change the healing trajectory of every person that I can. And so please share on, baby. We love it when you do that. If you're joining us in the Chemo Boss Holistic Protocol, I can't wait to meet you. And don't forget that early bird registration has a huge saving. So make sure that you click on the link below and that you leave us just your name and email is all that we're asking for. And you will be on that wait list as well. Okay. So I will be back soon talking about ways to heal and create that inhospitable environment to cancer and to disease. So don't forget to subscribe and share to make sure you do not miss an episode. And until then, I just want you to remember that cancer is not your destiny. Thanks for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, it's time to connect. Make sure you follow this podcast and check out all the socials on anystagecancer.com. If you're ready to talk about your own healing using the Cancer Boss Method, then click the link below this episode. Hey, and remember, cancer's not your destiny. Okay, I'm outie.